Hi, beautiful souls. Today, we're going to talk about something that can quite literally change the trajectory of your life: quitting alcohol. Not in a judgmental or rigid way, but in the kind of way that opens up the floodgates of your awareness, your creativity, your luck, and your alignment. Because here's the truth: when you stop drinking alcohol, you don't lose anything of value. You actually gain everything you've been searching for: more presence, more energy, deeper thinking, creative flow, spiritual clarity, and this magical sense that the universe is suddenly conspiring in your favor. It's as if luck itself starts showing up everywhere you go. And it's not a coincidence. It's energetic alignment. It's awareness. It's your consciousness finally getting a chance to drive your life without foggy interference. Let's unpack this together. There's this idea that alcohol is normal, that it's harmless in moderation, that it's this magic social lubricant that makes life a little more fun. But that's one of the biggest collective illusions we've been conditioned to believe. Alcohol, at its core, is ethanol, the exact same substance used to fuel cars and sterilize lab instruments. It's literally a poison, and our bodies treat it as such. The only reason we can even tolerate it is because our liver works overtime to detoxify it. It's not a nutrient. It's not food. It's not medicine. It's a toxin, and yet it's been sold to us as the ultimate symbol of relaxation and freedom. But what if true freedom is actually found in not needing it at all? When you quit drinking, something profound happens. You start seeing life as it is. You wake up. Your senses sharpen. You begin to notice the details, the subtle shifts of energy in a room, the intuition that whispers through your thoughts, the synchronicities that show you the universe is constantly communicating with you. Abraham Hicks often says that when you are aligned, things come easily. Opportunities, people, ideas, they flow to you effortlessly. Alcohol dulls that connection. It numbs the vibrational signal you're sending out. When you drink, your vibration becomes fuzzy. You're disconnected from your inner guidance system, from that quiet, loving inner being that's always calling you toward your highest timeline. When you stop drinking, your vibrational signal gets crystal clear. You start attracting in real time, and it feels like magic. One of the most profound teachers on this topic was Allen Carr, author of The Easy Way to Stop Drinking. He flipped the entire narrative. Instead of seeing sobriety as deprivation, he reframed it as liberation. He explained that alcohol doesn't relieve stress, it creates it. It doesn't make social situations easier, it numbs your natural confidence. Carr compared drinking to wearing tight shoes just for the relief of taking them off. You create discomfort, then get a temporary illusion of relief. But the moment you remove that illusion, the real joy of being yourself, fully conscious, fully present, returns. And that's exactly what happens spiritually when you stop drinking. The universe starts lining up experiences for you that you couldn't see before. Because you're no longer half asleep at the wheel of your own reality. Let's talk about luck for a second. People often say, "Wow, ever since I quit drinking, I've been getting so lucky." They land better jobs, meet new partners, have creative breakthroughs. But luck isn't random, it's awareness meeting opportunity. When your mind is clear and your energy is high, you see possibilities that you were blind to before. That's not magic, that's neuroscience. Research from the University of Sussex showed that after just 4 weeks of no alcohol, people reported a 40% increase in energy, better sleep, more focus, and a heightened sense of purpose. That's because alcohol impacts your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, creativity, and spiritual insight. When you stop sedating that part of yourself, it lights up again. You start thinking more deeply. You make better choices. You trust your intuition. You have energy to pursue that idea, start that project, meet that person. That's the energy of alignment, when action flows effortlessly because you're in tune with your higher self. Abraham Hicks often says, you can't be in alignment and be disconnected from your clarity at the same time. And alcohol is disconnection. It's a temporary detour away from who you really are. When you quit, you start to feel the natural joy that's always been inside you, the kind that doesn't need a chemical to access. You start to realize that the high you were seeking was always within your own vibration. You laugh more genuinely. You feel emotions more deeply, not just the good ones, but all of them. You process life instead of avoiding it. That's presence. That's mindfulness. That's where manifestation happens. Here's the wild part. Alcohol is one of the few drugs we have to justify not taking. People will say, "Are you okay?" when you tell them you're sober, as if clarity is something that needs an explanation. But once you step outside that social hypnosis, you start to see the collective programming for what it is, a distraction from consciousness. You begin to understand that the world encourages us to numb ourselves not because it's better, but because an aware population is powerful. A clear mind sees through illusions. A connected person can't be easily manipulated. When you're sober, you are awake, and the awake version of you is unstoppable. There's a freedom that comes with being completely present for your life. Freedom from hangovers, from anxiety, from that cycle of self-criticism that whispers, "Why did I do that again?" Freedom from needing a drink to feel fun, or confident, or social. Because once you've reconnected to your source energy, that well of self-love and divine confidence, you realize you are the party. You're the energy everyone feels when you walk into a room. Alcohol never gave you confidence, it only temporarily silenced the voice of self-doubt. Sobriety dissolves the doubt completely. That's why so many people say that when they quit drinking, they feel lucky. Because they're no longer fighting their own energy. From a scientific perspective, quitting alcohol resets your dopamine system. When you drink, dopamine spikes artificially, then drops below baseline, leaving you craving more. Over time, your brain's natural ability to feel pleasure weakens. But when you stop drinking, your dopamine receptors begin to heal. Within weeks, your ability to feel joy from small things returns. Sunlight feels warmer. Music sounds better. Conversations feel deeper. This is your brain returning to equilibrium, the natural state of presence and contentment that's been waiting for you. And the longer you stay alcohol-free, the more your nervous system stabilizes. You experience fewer mood swings, less anxiety, and better sleep. The health benefits alone are extraordinary: improved liver function, better immune response, lower blood pressure, improved digestion, and reduced risk of cancer and heart disease. But the real miracle is what happens spiritually. You reconnect to your life force, that same creative power that shapes universes. Think about the word, spirits. Alcohol has been called spirits for centuries. But what it actually does is disconnect you from your own spirit. When you quit, you no longer rely on external spirits, you become filled with your own. You start to notice how everything is energy, and when your energy is clear, the universe responds in kind. You start manifesting faster because there's no energetic resistance. Abraham Hicks calls this being in the state of allowing, when you're open, relaxed, and attuned to well-being. Sobriety is the ultimate state of allowing. There's no artificial interference. You're in tune with your emotions, which are your guidance system, and because of that, you make better vibrational choices. That's what brings in luck. That's what creates synchronicity. Let's talk about creative power for a moment. When you quit drinking, your creativity expands dramatically. You have more mental clarity, more energy to act on ideas, and more courage to bring them into form. Alcohol makes you feel creative for a moment, but it numbs the very consciousness that generates inspiration. Many great artists, writers, and musicians have realized this. Take Elton John. He's been sober for decades and often says it saved his life and his career. Bradley Cooper quit drinking at 29, long before a star is born, and credits his sobriety for his success. Robert Downey Jr. rebuilt his entire life and became one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors after getting sober. What do all these stories have in common? Clarity, presence, energy, the ability to use their talent instead of dulling it. They became available for opportunity, because they were awake when opportunity arrived. When you're sober, you also develop a new kind of intuition. You can feel what environments serve you and which ones drain you. You sense people's energy. You start noticing synchronicities that guide you toward your next step. You see repeating numbers, overhear conversations that answer your silent questions, and bump into the right person at the right time. It feels like the universe is whispering directions to you, because you're finally quiet enough to listen. You become the observer, aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your vibration. And that awareness is everything. That's mindfulness. That's alignment. Allen Carr used to say that once you understand the truth about alcohol, you don't have to try to quit, you simply lose the desire. Because you see the illusion for what it is. He called alcohol a trap, a belief system reinforced by advertising, movies, and culture. But once you expose the trap, you walk away without effort. That's freedom from the bonds of habit. And spiritually, this is the same principle Abraham Hicks teaches about limiting beliefs. Once you become aware of the false belief, once you see it clearly, it dissolves. You don't have to fight it. You just stop giving it energy. Quitting alcohol is one of the most powerful acts of conscious alignment you can make. Because you're no longer trying to escape the present moment, you're embracing it fully. It's also one of the deepest acts of self-love. When you say, I choose clarity, you're telling the universe, I value my consciousness. And the universe responds to that energy with more things that match it, more clarity, more blessings, more synchronicities. It's like stepping out of a fog and suddenly seeing a landscape of opportunities that were there all along. You start feeling lucky not because the world changed, but because you did. You tuned into a different frequency, one where life flows more easily. Now let's talk about relationships. When you stop drinking, your connections become more real. You listen better. You remember conversations. You pick up on emotional cues. You're present. And because of that, your relationships deepen, both with others and with yourself. You begin to see who truly aligns with your vibration. Some friendships may naturally fade, and that's okay. You're not losing people. You're making space for those who meet you at this new level of clarity. That's part of the spiritual detox too, not just removing the chemical, but clearing out the energies that no longer resonate. And the most magical thing? You begin to feel proud of yourself, deeply, quietly proud. You wake up every morning with no regret. You remember your nights. You remember yourself. And that builds a new kind of confidence, not the kind that needs validation, but the kind that radiates from within. That's what Abraham Hicks means by alignment, when your inner being and your outer self are moving in the same direction. Sobriety brings that alignment home. So let's recap what happens when you quit alcohol. You become more aware, which means you notice opportunities. You have more energy, which means you can act on them. You think deeper, which means you make better decisions. You have more creative power, which means you express your purpose. You feel present, which means you attract more joy. You reconnect with your alignment, which means the universe can finally deliver everything you've been asking for. That's why people who quit drinking often say, everything just started working out for me. It's not random luck. It's consciousness. There's also a subtle but powerful shift in how you perceive time. When you drink, your perception of time dulls. You skip moments. You zone out. But when you're sober, time expands. You're in every moment, the laughter, the conversation, the sunset, the silence. That presence is where all your power is. The universe doesn't create from yesterday or tomorrow, it creates from now. So when you stop drinking, you return to the now. And from that space, manifestation becomes natural. If you've ever doubted that sobriety could be spiritual, think of it this way: the greatest enlightenment teachers, from Buddha to Eckhart Tolle, all teach presence. Sobriety is presence in its purest form. And presence is where you meet your true self, not the self that's been escaping or numbing, but the self that is radiant, whole, and unconditionally worthy. That's who you really are. And that's the person the universe has been waiting to co-create with. There's a saying that goes, when you quit drinking, you don't miss alcohol, you miss the person you thought you were when you drank. But once you truly experience the clarity of consciousness, you realize that the real you, the sober, present, creative, awake you, is far more alive than any buzz could ever make you feel. Because this isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about choosing awareness over autopilot, alignment over escape, creation over consumption. So if you've been feeling called to quit drinking, take that as a nudge from your higher self. It's not random. It's your soul asking to expand. It's the universe saying, I have bigger plans for you, but you need to be awake to receive them. Trust that call. Because on the other side of that decision is a version of you that's calmer, clearer, stronger, more magnetic, and profoundly lucky. The kind of luck that comes when your mind, body, and spirit are finally in harmony. And if you ever doubt that you can do it, remember Allen Carr's message: you don't have to give up drinking, you're freeing yourself from drinking. You're not losing anything. You're gaining everything. Freedom. Clarity. Energy. Creativity. Presence. Health. Connection. Alignment. And with those, luck isn't something you chase. It's something that naturally finds you. If this message resonates with you, take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are powerful beyond measure. You don't need anything outside of you to feel whole, creative, or free. The universe has always been lining up opportunities for you, you just needed to see them. And when you choose clarity, the universe responds instantly. So here's to awareness. Here's to freedom. And here's to the incredible, aligned, and lucky version of you that's been waiting to step forward all along. You are not missing out. You are waking up. If this spoke to your soul, beautiful ones, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who might need it. Because sometimes, one conversation about alignment can change an entire life. Stay awake, stay aligned, and I'll see you in the next video.